Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Housekeepers Podcast. My name is Ralph Peterson, and I guarantee this is going to be the cleanest hour in podcasting with my special guest, Katie Pearse. Katie, I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
I'm very excited because you're north of me. You're in Canada.
Yes.
One of my Canadian neighbors. Now, I love that there's, and a lot of industries are like this where they're transferable country to country to country, but the cleaning industry is truly a worldwide industry.
That's
and
awesome.
It's so, I just love that about it. I love that it's this humongous community and also this very small community at the same time. So
that's very true. We all seem to have the same challenges. So it's nice not to be alone.
If I have to talk to one more person about wiping their feet when they come in the house, no. I had no idea that when my mother was yelling at us kids when I was little about wiping our feet, I didn't know that I was going to continue that mantra.
Yes.
Of all the things you learn from your mother.
Oh yeah.
Yelling at kids about wiping their feet, picking up the dishes. If you drop it, pick it up. All those nice little.
So much to teach, actually. I think about that a lot now that I am a mom. It's like, you're always yelling at your kids, clean up your room. But now that I'm like an expert in training cleaners and everyone thinks that cleaning is so easy and everyone knows how to do it. Well, sometimes kids don't know how to clean, right? So, I mean, they need to be taught how to clean just like they have to be taught how to read and write and do everything else. So, I think that's one of the frustrations parents have. But yeah, kids probably need to be taught how to do it, right? So. Mm-hmm.
That is super insightful because no, seriously, because you're absolutely right. Everybody I meet, I mean, the millions of people, all think cleaning is super easy.
Oh,
but then if you were to say, hey, go clean this up, the first thing that comes to their mind is, wait, how?
Well, or everyone thinks like, oh, I know how to clean. And then you go and look and you're like, this isn't clean at all. Like I always joke with my husband. I'm like, is this Glisten Academy clean? Like, oh, I cleaned the bathroom. Guests are on the way. Oh, really? And then I always say, you really need to take one of my courses. He's like, I'm never taking one of your courses because then I have to clean properly. Right? Now he's got an excuse. So it's better to be.
It's so great.
For sure.
It's so great.
Yeah, you're right, though.
So let's go all the way back to the beginning. So
Sure.
where did you grow up? Where are you from?
So I'm from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. We are a city of about 1 million people.
Million?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah. And so fairly large. And I started my business, my cleaning business in 2008.
Hold on. Before you go from birth to business, which, by the way, might be a pretty good podcast name. Birth to business.
That is smart.
That's not bad. That's not terrible. That's not terrible. No, so you grew up there. What was it like growing up there?
Edmonton's great. I think Edmonton's a wonderful place to have a business. There's a lot of support, local support, and there's a big university there. So there's all kinds of opportunity. And Edmonton's a very oil focused city as well, because 5 hours north of us is Fort McMurray, so major oil sands. So lots of very successful people, lots of people with money there. So really good place to start a business for sure. But on the flip side of that is very, very hard to staff. The labor market's very difficult. Minimum wage is really high. And people who tend to, maybe in a normal city would go and take a cleaning job in Edmonton can just go up north and work and make, 6 figures cleaning there or working in the oil sands or whatever. So it's a challenging city to have a business in, but I was very successful there. So, I am very, very happy with Edmonton for sure.
Yeah, you grew up there. You went to school there and everything.
Yeah, I went to 2 universities there, both MacEwan and University of Alberta. And
what was growing up like? What was growing up like there?
It's very cold. So
It's
it
cold.
is. And I mean, you kind of are just used to it when you live there. I mean, I lived there my entire life. It's just normal to me. It's normal to us. And now that I'm with someone who is not from Edmonton, I've started to realize how unique sort of our experience is. But we definitely grow up cold, and that's quite a challenge as a business owner. That's something that most people don't really think of. But when you have cleaners that are dragging Dyson vacuums, through snow drifts on their way up to a house, and we get a lot of very dangerous driving conditions as well. So there's a lot of, very simple weather related issues that happen and make having a job difficult. So there's a lot of challenges, definitely running a business in a climate that's cold. We have snow maybe like 8 months a year.
Holy moly,
Oh, for
8 months a
sure.
year.
Yeah, for sure we do. And then, summers are quite lovely.
And
But growing up
fast.
there, yes, and very fast, absolutely. And now a lot of forest fires too. So the weather is a real challenge. It really is. Most people will never have to experience sort of what we do. But there are, a million of us, and we're very supportive of each other. And again, it's a great place definitely to have a business. So
do you have any siblings?
I do. I have a sister. Yeah.
Is she older or younger?
She is 3 years younger than me.
3 years younger. So what was that like? What did your parents do for work? Were you an entrepreneur as a kid? Like, were you out there shoveling snow?
When I look back, yes. So it's kind of funny that you bring that up, because I kind of always thought that, I became sort of an entrepreneur later in life, after, doing the corporate sort of gig. But actually, when I look back on it, I was a synchronized swimmer when I was quite young. And when I quit synchro, I went into coaching. So I coached for 10 years. And then I went to university after, during that time. And I worked, like a retail job that I really enjoyed. And then I worked at a pool as well. On top of coaching synchro, I worked at a pool in the city. And then I graduated university. And then I went and worked for Edmonton Public School District as a communications consultant with them, and did a lot of digital work for them.
What is a communications consultant? What is that?
So communications is in like communications and marketing. So I went to school for political science initially. Well, actually, I started off in physical education. I wanted to be a very serious synchronized swimming coach. So I was very serious about being like an Olympic coach. But that didn't work out so well. I'm not much of a science person. So anatomy and physiology were very difficult for me. Mm-hmm. So I decided I would switch to something else. And so I ended up in political science. And then I started looking at jobs I was really, interested in. When I worked at the pool, there was no internet really. The only thing I had access to was the City of Edmonton intranet. So I'd go on there and I'd look at all the job postings, and all the job postings that were interesting asked for a public relations diploma. So I thought, well, then that's what I'll do. I'll go get a public relations diploma. So after regular university, I moved on and went to MacEwan and got a PR diploma. And that sort of taught me communications, which is basically like writing and copywriting and some graphic design and web design and all that. Most of my work is sort of self-taught in terms of, digital marketing and communications. There really wasn't a whole lot of that when I went to school. Like social media didn't exist, texting barely existed, but I was really, really interested in all of that. And so I self-taught, how to do websites. And when I got my corporate job in 2005, I was doing a lot of I was managing all the websites basically for Edmonton Public Schools. So big websites.
That was your corporate job, the school system?
That was it. Yeah. Yes. So I loved my job. I had it was great. I learned a lot, but I only ended up lasting there 3 years. And then I started the cleaning business while I was there, and it just kind of exploded. And so I was able to give notice and move on. So.
Yeah. So So let's talk about how that actually happened, because it's quite an interesting story. You were helping a friend out, right? Like a friend couldn't find work.
So basically, I had a friend that I met while working at the pool. So we both worked at the pool together, and she was a really good cleaner. And I'm a terrible cleaner. Like, I grew up in a really messy house. We didn't clean really much in our house. So I was never really taught how to clean, but I knew that was sort of a weakness that I had. And then I had this friend, and she was a roommate as well. So I was renting a room to her in my house. And she had just quit her job. She was working at West Edmonton Mall, in some retail store. And meanwhile, I had been working, like I said, a corporate communications job, and was just busy. Like, again, I'm a terrible cleaner. Or I was a terrible cleaner. So I was always looking for a cleaner. Like, I just needed help cleaning. And so I was hiring companies, and they were not doing a good job. And then I'd hire independent people, and they didn't do a good job. I tried everything. And then my friend was like, oh, I quit my job, and, I need a job. What should I do? And I said, well, like, cleaners charge quite a lot of money. Why don't you clean? And she's like, well, I don't really know how to, like, get customers and stuff. And I said, well, I do. So why don't I build the website? I'll figure out how to do the business, and just teach me to clean, and I'll come and I'll help you. So just teach me how to clean. And then I've learned a skill that I'm lacking. And so I came up with a name, made a logo, registered the website, and basically started getting clients. And then we hit the road. We grabbed our cleaning supplies, because, again, cleaning's a very easy business to start, isn't it?
It certainly is. Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
You said that you kept hiring people. You'd hire a company, or you'd hire an individual to come clean, but they weren't doing a good job. What weren't they doing? What was it? What was the difference between what they were doing and how you saw the best way to go forward doing it?
So, I mean, basically, everyone is a poor cleaner. So the big challenge with having a cleaning company and training your own staff is that it's not like, I can take my car in for service and they do an oil change, and I can't judge how well that oil change was done. When you have cleaning customers, those people not only can judge the service that was performed, very often those customers are better cleaners and have better standards than your own staff do. So that's sort of, the issue is that people come into it thinking, oh, I can start this cleaning company. It's so easy to start a cleaning company. How hard can it be? Everyone knows how to clean. But that's the problem. You've got customers who are have incredibly high standards. That's why they have a cleaning company in the first place, So these are people who want, their 9 out of 10 house that's already clean, a 10 out of 10 for everyone. And
I know a lot of people, to your point, who clean before the cleaner gets there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
and to your point, and what that is really an indication of is how high their expectations are.
Absolutely. And that's it. So when you're paying money for something that you could easily do yourself, you just don't have time to, or,
you don't want to.
You don't want to. And I mean, that was my situation. I didn't want to clean. I don't like cleaning. I mean, I do sort of now that I'm sort of I am an expert in cleaning for sure. So, I can clean very efficiently. I have all the tools, all the products in the world, and I can do it very well. And I do enjoy it. But I don't have time. I'm much better, my time is much better spent doing, sort of what I meant to do. So again, and now I'm in a new town and I can't find anyone here really to clean either. So it's sort of, I always end up in the same situation where it's like, okay, I guess I have to just start this cleaning company myself. And at least that way I'll have my house cleaned.
I think that's such a great, when you're meeting with a new customer, it's always interesting the questions that you ask and how you ask them, and try to uncover not only what their needs and wants are, but what their motivations are, whatever. And that would be a great question to ask. Are you the type of person who cleans before your housekeeper or your cleaner shows up? Because if they say yes, boy, doesn't that tell you an awful lot about the standards that they're expecting.
Absolutely. And you know what, I'm a big believer in having a really strong, detailed client and property profile. So in my sort of client experience, it's like a 10-step sort of client experience that I teach people. Part of that is having that really detailed client and property profile. So it's like a questionnaire, and you don't do it in the beginning when they're shopping around for the cleaning company. You do this once they're booked, and you really want them to sit down and spend some time really going through all these questions so that you actually know what this person is looking for, because knowing your client as intimately as possible is absolutely how you're going to achieve success with those clients. And that's how you build your business, right? So
1,000,000%. That's the long term.
Correct. Yes.
That's the difference between a one-off and a long-term contract.
Exactly. And I mean, my sort of business model and what I teach is having a small company that one person like me can manage all on their own. I can have 10 to 12 staff that I can manage myself and, still make lots of, money and lots of profit. And again, a lot of that has to do with knowing those customers and having repeats. So, you don't need 500 customers. You need maybe about 120 sort of repeat customers, and you can keep a team of 10 people full-time busy. And that's definitely, to me, the most sustainable way to do this business, because it is, it's very challenging. And that's sort of my, my tagline recently has been, yes, like a cleaning business is the easiest business to start, and it is the hardest to run. I don't think there is anything harder than our industry.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. The worst part, or the best part about the cleaning industry is it's super easy to start. And the worst part is that it's super easy to start. And so you have a lot of people who are not very good at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you only have a few people who are really focused and dedicated and
Absolutely.
really make it their profession.
And then on the flip side, you also have these really excellent cleaners who are excellent. And I work with a lot of them who aren't charging what they should be charging. They're not making what they should be making. They can't scale the business. They're exceptionally good cleaners, but they don't know how to run a business, right? And that's the only thing that's stopping them from being extremely financially successful. So
where did you learn? You said, the part of the story is that your friend came to you and said, "Hey, I'm looking for work." And you're like, "You know what? When we were working at the pool together, you were always a much better cleaner than I was."
Yeah.
There's a definite need. I see a definite need for people who clean houses. Why don't you go into that field? Yeah. And she said, "I don't know how." And you said, "I do." How did you know? Where did you learn how to sell? How to position yourself?
Question. I would say that I would say it's a bit of an innate trait that I seem to have, because again, if I look back now that I'm older and I look back over my entire life, when I was in elementary school, I was like creating magazines and distributing them around school and stuff. So I've always had a really big passion, I guess, for writing, just like you. I'm a really good writer, and that's sort of where it started. And I've just sort of had this, I guess, drive to be sort of a leader. And I mean, even when I was a synchronized swimming coach, I always would see ways that it could be improved. So I always wanted to run my own swim camps, and I just always wanted to do my own thing. I don't know where that comes from.
What did your parents do? What did your parents do for work?
So my mom's a teacher, elementary school teacher. And really, I'm sort of a teacher as well in a non-traditional sort of way.
1,000,000%.
Yeah, I really am. And that's sort of, they kind of laugh because that's sort of what I ended up doing, was becoming a teacher myself. And then, but for adults, of course. And then my dad, again, was very similar to what I do. He was a public information officer with the Alberta government. So his sort of niche is forestry. And so that's what he took in university and studied. And then he sort of became kind of like what I do, which is a lot of sort of public relations, communications. He worked, when I was a kid, I loved going to see him because he managed a communications team, which involved like a graphic designer and an artist. And I was, really close with the artist, and she would just draw the most beautiful things and paint things. And she's like a children's book illustrator now, but, she'd do all the coloring books for Forest Service and, preventing forest fires and all this stuff. And I just love that as a kid. So, again, my dad's very creative, very into art, and as well, like sort of a communications guy. And then my mom being a teacher. And then I definitely learned a lot when I did public relations in terms of marketing, but, to me, it's just, I'm just very, I guess, empathetic, because for me, I was, like I said, sort of a busy career woman, and I needed my house cleaned, and I wanted it done professionally. I wanted it done right. I didn't care how much it cost. I didn't want to manage anyone. I didn't want it to be difficult. I didn't want any emotional labor involved, awkwardness in paying my bill. I just wanted everything done professionally, my house cleaned, and that, was it. And it never happened. No matter how hard I tried or how much I paid, I was disappointed over and over again. So I thought, I can do this better, and I can give people exactly what I'm looking for. And that's what I do. So seems to work.
Yeah, that's pretty fantastic. I like the idea that you're not sure. I love that, because there is that it's funny. There's two different people. I think there are people who grow up and are unaffected by the inner workings of everything that's going around them. Right. And then there are people who are very affected, even though sometimes we don't even realize it. Mm-hmm. We don't just see an advertisement. We see all the elements of an advertisement. We don't just see a television commercial. We see all the breakdown pieces of that television commercial. And then years later, you're like, wait, I know how this works, because I've been watching television my whole life. And you got to know that there are people who will watch television as well and never understand how it works.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. And I think that's, I guess I don't even really attribute a lot of what I know or do to my university education, but actually I sort of majored in political science, but I actually took a lot of psychology courses. I just didn't want to major in it. So I actually took a lot of psychology and sociology courses. And, I think that's probably what I find the most fascinating. And then I read a lot as well. So, learning like Dan Ariely's book, like Why People Buy, and just things like this, like just all the different psychological reasons behind, why people buy. And I'm a shopper myself. I love shopping all the time. And so I always, try and pay attention to my own sort of path onto what actually makes me buy things. Is it the emails? Like, there's so much misconception people have over why they think they do things. And, of course, science has proven over and over that, people self-report wrong, and we fill out surveys wrong. And, even as witnesses to crimes, we're wrong. And so that stuff has always fascinated me. So I do study, I guess, a lot of, sort of why people buy, and especially women too. I really, really like to know why women buy, because women, even when there's a man involved, women tend to be the decision makers in a lot of purchases, in almost every purchase. So I've read a lot about that too, and that really interests me. And, of course, being a woman myself and being in a very female dominated industry, it all fascinates me. So from the customer to the business owner herself, I find it all very interesting. Yeah.
I love that too. I think that to be a successful person in any realm, curiosity has got to be right up there among the top qualities.
Right. Yeah.
Somebody, being well-read, super important.
Absolutely.
But you can't even begin to be well-read if you're not interested, if you're not curious, if you're
And I mean, that raises a really good point, is that, you really have to have a love for cleaning. And even though I didn't necessarily know how to clean, I wanted a clean house. Like, I wanted what we now would call like an Instagrammable house. I want everything to be beautiful and perfect. Do I want to do all the work myself? Of course not. Like, I'm going to outsource it all. But, that's exactly it is, we have a vision, and that's really all marketing is, right? It's just selling people that promise of how their life can be better. And I truly, truly believe in it. And I think growing up, in a house that wasn't, super clean, and super organized, I felt a lot of, I would say, stress. Like, there's a lot of stress involved, when a house is disorganized, and it's something I still struggle with myself, is the organization. I'm very clean, but I tend to have way too many clothes. I have a baby now, and she has way too many clothes, too many everything, so that's sort of my struggle and my challenge all the time, is to be as minimalist as possible. But, there has to be a real passion for cleaning. And I think I tend not to work with people who come to me and have that sort of concept, like we've already discussed, where, well, cleaning's easy, and I'll just start this business. I've got a great head for business, so I'm going to start a cleaning business. It'll be really easy to staff because everyone knows how to clean. So that's the easy part. And I'm just going to do this business. And you really have to have, a deep love for maybe not for the cleaning process, but for the end result. There just has to be something about cleaning. And, you know, my favorite part of even going to Walmart or any grocery store is the cleaning aisle. You know, as silly as it sounds, like it's natural. I'm obsessed with cleaning, and a lot of people are. And, you know, if you can take that passion and turn it into a business, then, you know, then you'll be very successful. But you do, and it's not just cleaning, you have to truly, also be of service. I think that, you know, this is the service industry, and you really have to love taking that burden off your clients' shoulders. You have to understand how stressful having a messy house or dirty house is for people, and why they're so willing to pay someone to do it for them. And then if you sort of have that, you know, that respect for how important cleaning really is and the service that you're delivering, then you have all the confidence in the world. You can charge the most in your market. You know, you're proud of what you do. And that will pass down to your staff as well. So you can turn it into a real career option for people, as opposed to just, you know, an unskilled job. And you really do. You have to have a love for it and a real respect for what you're doing for people.
You know what I like is that you have gone from solving an immediate problem that you see and creating a business for you and your friend. But then when did you transform to start training people? When did you start the Glisten Academy, where you're actually taking and showing people how to start their own business and be successful in their own business? How did that happen?
Yeah, it was really interesting how it happened, actually. So my business partner and I were starting to have a lot of conflict, because business partners don't tend to butt heads when things aren't going well, because you're kind of in it together. And, you know, our business was very successful, but sort of under the surface, there was some tension, because we were very successful, and we were sort of always trying to catch up. Like, we always had a waiting list. We always needed more staff. You know, we were always too in demand. So, you know, there's sort of always one or the other problem. So, you know, you either have too many staff, not enough work, or you have, you know, not enough
staff and too much work. Yeah.
So that's always
I know exactly what you mean.
Problem. And, you know, my business partner was very well meaning, but when we became sort of at that point where you're now, like, you know, doing over $1 million a year in revenue, there's a lot of challenges that come with that, in terms of having a business that is really systemized. And I'm big on that. I mean, systems are my thing. So, you know, in terms of online booking and online, you know, training and everything, that was easy for me to do. But I felt like my business partner really wasn't pulling her weight. And sort of the more money we were making, it was almost like the more she was kind of coasting more and more. And so anyway, there was some conflict, and we ended up trying to sort of go our separate ways. So I had put in a couple offers, you know, like legally, to say, like, I'm going to buy you out. And she rejected my offers. And so I thought, you know what, like, the legal bills were piling up, and I was paying my staff out of my own pocket as well at the time. And, you know, that's not a great sort of environment to be working in. And eventually I just thought, it was right around Christmas time, and I thought, I'm done. Like, I'm done. I'm a marketer. I can start another cleaning company tomorrow. Why am I fighting so hard, you know, just to keep the name and the brand? So I said, fine, you know what, you can have the business taken. So she ended up closing the business down immediately.
Oh, no.
Immediately. The very next day, gone.
So wait a minute. Wait. So she fought you tooth and nail, did not want to give it up, didn't want to be bought out. But as soon as you left, she just closed it?
Yeah.
It seems like all that battle was for nothing.
Yeah, in a way. So, I mean, definitely, like, I'm no stranger to sort of that, not rock bottom feeling, but sort of like, wow, what did I just spend 8 years building? And then it all got thrown away like that. Really, it did. But it doesn't. Like, it wasn't, right? So, you know, I might have felt sad for a minute or two, but I know that that's, you know, I don't know. I never really felt that bad about it. I thought, you know what? In a name and a brand, sure, it's over, it's done, poof, it's gone. But that doesn't mean that my name's gone. That doesn't mean that my customers are gone. That doesn't mean that this has all been a waste. You know, that was 8 years of, you know, like a PhD education, really, you know. So I thought, no big deal. I'm just going to start another company. So she actually went into commercial cleaning. And from all I've, sort of heard, she's doing very, very well doing that. So, there you go, right? Like good for her. And then what ended up happening is sort of, I think the summer before, so I told you this sort of happened around Christmas. The summer before, I was contacted by Jobber, which is like a service software for home-based businesses. So basically, Jobber has software that, your staff can track their time, and you can book, appointments, and you have an app on your phone. And it, basically you can check on your staff, they can clock in and out, all of that sort of stuff. And so they had contacted me. So this is back in 2014. And, because I had a fairly high profile in the city as, a successful, business owner, and sort of well known as being like the, cleaning sort of expert in my city. So Jobber had reached out to me and said, we'd love to collaborate on like a book and some webinars and, basically have you as our cleaning industry expert. So Jobber, they have customers, basically businesses that do everything from like lawn care to plumbing to cleaning to, everything that, all these home service types of industries. So they wanted to bring me on as their clean business expert. And so we got together and we collaborated on an ebook. And
that's great. What's the ebook called?
It's called How to Start a Cleaning Business. And it's just a free book that we put together. Yeah, it was great. They basically interviewed me, and then we put the book together, and we did, they are also involved with ARC-C and ISSA, the big organization, professional organization for us. So they sponsored me to go to Chicago at the time. So that would have been maybe in 2017 or 18, whenever the annual conference was in Chicago. And so I went and gave a talk there. And basically we collaborated on a bunch of sort of events, both in person and online. And so anyway, it was sort of from that, it was initially them contacting me. That was sort of the beginning. And then I just sort of kept getting, asked basically to teach. So I had like a local business school reach out to me and say, we'd like to bring you on to teach for us as well. So I was teaching like, basically small business marketing, search engine optimization, website design, basically to all small business owners sort of in all industries in my city. So I became, kind of an instructor for everyone. And at the same time, I was building, specifically to the cleaning industry through my website. So I started putting together some courses, and this was back when things weren't nearly sort of as demanding and fancy as they are now. So I was just making, which again, like you said, you're a writer, I'm a writer too. So I would just write, I'd write, PDFs basically, and make all these courses that were just written, and people could buy them and download them and then put into practice, all the things I was teaching them about a cleaning business. And so that's basically how it started, was because my business basically disappeared overnight. And like I said, I was thinking about starting another cleaning business. And then I decided, you know what, I can probably just be a teacher and a consultant at this point. So that's what happened. And that's what I did. And, I just basically, online courses are, I thought, very naively as well. I thought, well, I'm a great teacher in person. I was getting a lot of good feedback, a lot of great, reviews from students. And I thought, well, this is great. I'll just put my, like this, I'll just put my camera on and I'll just lecture. And how hard can that be? And it was the hardest thing I've ever done, ever. I cannot even begin to explain how hard it is to put together online courses. And again, when I teach in real life, I can talk and laugh and you've got interaction with your students. But when you're just teaching online to no one, it's a completely, and it's not like this, there's no interactivity. So there was a lot of mistakes I made, a very expensive and time wasting mistakes in the beginning to try and figure out how to take how I train in real life and how I teach in real life, both as, cleaners. How do I teach cleaners? How do I teach cleaning business owners and all kinds of entrepreneurs? How do I teach marketing? How do I teach everything and take it and bring it online? And that has been Now I have been working on that for about 7 years, I guess. And again, that is just like a massive whole other world, that I've had to learn. And, again, I started off thinking I could just put my, my iPhone up on a ring light and I could just record myself. I realized very quickly that wasn't going to work, and I ended up hiring people, and I have quite a team now that helps me put together courses, and I couldn't do it without them, because it's not nearly as easy as it looks, to bring everything to life with video. And I'm still working on it, because there's still, tutorials and stuff, again, look really easy on TikTok, but, and Instagram, but the people who are doing that, it's not as simple as it looks. And I know some of the people behind massive Instagram and other social media accounts, and I know how much work goes into it. And it's not just somebody going around, their house or their client's house quite as simple as it seems, right? So there's been a lot of changes in, I'm sure, as you're aware too, a lot has changed since, in the past few years too. And attention spans are short. And, like I said, the biggest challenge with teaching people how to clean, it's not the business owners that are difficult to train. Business owners are the best group of people in the world. Like, I go and teach in real life, and like, those people are the nicest people. Almost every single person I've taught, in real business school has become like a friend. They've stayed in touch on Facebook. I hear from them years later about things that I taught them that are helping them today. Really wonderful group of people. But when you're training people how to clean, I mean, like, who wants to learn how to clean a toilet, right? I mean, it's not exciting, and everybody comes to you thinking they already know how to do it. And everyone thinks this is a waste of my time. Why on earth do I have to sit through training how to clean a toilet? This is so dumb. So there's a lot of challenges and a lot of psychological things that go into training actual cleaning professionals. And so this has sort of been, I would say, this is kind of like my life's work now, my masterpiece at the end of my career. I hope that I can look back and say, I solved that, and it's not necessarily a solvable problem, but boy, did I improve it. And boy, did I help people, sort of break that barrier down so that they were open to learning. Because I have seen it over and over as well with my own staff, that you'll pay them to sit through some kind of training. And this happened to me as recently as a couple of years ago, where, I was training people, and then I go and watch them train, like, sort of secretly at a house, I'm in the kitchen just checking something, and I see them cleaning, and I think, that's not at all, that's not even a little bit of the process. You're not doing it right at all. So, how do you train people? How do you get them to pay attention? How do you get them to think that, maybe they actually could learn something about how to do this? And then how do you continually motivate and incentivize them to actually follow the process until they've actually, until it's second nature, right? So yeah, there's a lot. Hardest business to run.
It's definitely an interesting conversation to have, because I think you're speaking the truth, and it doesn't even matter to what industry. I mean, everything is a learning curve.
Yes.
Everything is challenging. Everybody thinks they know everything already.
You're exactly right.
It becomes sometimes a battle of wills more than anything else.
I think you're right. And, it's true. It is. And it's a real power struggle, especially in that sort of employer-employee dynamic, especially in something like this. Back to the oil change thing. I don't know how to change oil in a car. But yeah, I mean, every single person on this planet, even as young as like a 6-year-old, you could say, okay, I'm going to pay you to go to that house and, push a mop around. Yeah, I can do that, right? Everybody thinks they can do it, and nobody can, right?
To some extent, everyone can do it, but not do it well, not do it repeatable, not do it with good metrics.
And that's the argument I have with my husband, because he's like, well, anyone can do it. Anyone can. And I said, sure, anyone can.
Anyone can run down the street, but not everyone can run a marathon.
That's right. That's exactly it. And not everybody can do it to the standard, of course, that has to be done. And then, I've cleaned, when we started our business, I did it myself. And then I actually started another business, a cleaning business in Edmonton, 2 or 3 summers ago. I guess it was 2 summers ago, basically just because my training programs were done. And I thought, you know what, I really want to put these into practice before I sell them to anyone. So, exactly as they are, because again, I teach people in real life how to do it. I need to make sure that this is going to work in the, in the exact environment that I've created online. So I hired people, I started a little business, and I used my training programs on them. And again, like it's the same thing. Yes, they know how to clean, but how do you get them to actually reach that standard on every single house, every single time? And then myself, I was heavily involved in the beginning as well with training because we had a lot of high profile clients, and I had to make sure, of course, that everything was done perfectly. And yeah, it was like summer cleaning, and it's hot and you're tired. And like, you've been in this house. We were making houses, beautiful, like multi-million-dollar homes ready for NHL players that were coming back to the city to start the season. And because we were working, not entirely just for one person, but the one client that I had multiple, $1-million homes that he was renting out to NHLers, fully furnished. And so, there's a huge expectation with that. And I spent a lot of weekends at these houses making sure that they were absolutely perfect, like as though the Queen of England herself was coming to stay there. And yeah, it is, I am like, if you don't understand how hard and frustrating cleaning is as a business owner, like I tell everyone, you have to go do it yourself. You have to learn the struggles that, that your employees are feeling every day and the frustrations that they're dealing with. Because a million things can go wrong. Like it's a really hard job because again, if this was a cafe, these people just show up, they put on their apron and customers walk through the door and they've got downtime and stuff. There is really none of that when it comes to cleaning. And there's, I always say like when you're cleaning like 2 or 3 houses a day, that's like 10 to 15 different bosses a week that you're reporting to, and then their spouse as well. So you've got, like 30 bosses now, plus your own demanding boss, so yeah, there's a lot of pressure. It's not for the faint of heart. It's a hard job. It really is. And so again, as a business owner, you have to take away as much burden on your staff as well. So it's really about, I guess, servicing your clients and also your staff. You have to genuinely empathize with them. You have to take away everything that makes their job difficult as much as you can. And then you'll end up with staff, for a lifetime really. So, but yeah, lots.
I heard a fun anecdote once that said Queen Elizabeth must think the world smells like fresh paint. Right? Because you can imagine everywhere she goes.
Right
before she gets there, everybody is just, she must think the world smells like disinfectant, so bleach, and fresh paint.
Yeah, and flowers. And
the world smells terrible.
For her.
That's hilarious.
Absolutely.
That's the other thing I wanted to touch on is in the cleaning industry, there's so many different directions you can go. And you found yourself specializing in luxury cleaning, luxury houses, like you're saying, for NHL professionals. Like that adds a whole degree of difficulty and expectation with that luxury piece. But again, I would imagine at the same time, if you have a choice between cleaning an individual house that, is very little money with 8 kids, or $1 million house with 2 people in it half the time, I mean, you choose the luxury house every time, right? I mean,
yes. So, that's a good point for a few reasons. Number one, staff, for sure. Staff are much more likely to stick around with you if they're working in a nice environment. So, and again, I am not pretentious when it comes to cleaning. I have cleaned, if the stories I could tell you between my business partner and I, flies, maggots. My poor business partner got bit by a dog once. We've seen everything. I remember dragging someone to a cleaning job. It was like a basement apartment, and the guy proudly told us he'd lived there since the 70s and had never cleaned ever. I remember going into this bathtub and thinking this looked like something out of like a horror movie. It was like, it did. It looked like somewhere where you would keep prisoners or something. It was so bad. So I've seen it all and I've cleaned it all. And I can promise you, yes, it is much better, cleaning for Connor McDavid than it is to clean for that poor fellow. Both pay the same amount of money. Both are as appreciative. But again, if you're expecting staff to clean for you, very often they do not want to clean actual, dirty houses. They really don't, as silly as that sounds. And so yes, if you can give people a nicer environment, and as well, there is a bit of a a sort of, what would the word be? Like you don't always feel great about yourself as a cleaner, dragging in a mop bucket and you feel kind of like a downtrodden, servant really, when you're cleaning. So you have to understand that for cleaners, when they're showing up to clean a house, you don't want them feeling badly about themselves and feeling less than the people that they're cleaning for. And unfortunately, that happens a lot. So again, you want to give your staff, as much pride in their job. And I know for me personally, like when I'm pulling, cleaning supplies out of my trunk and marching up to a house, you feel like every neighbor's eyes are on you and, oh, you're the cleaning lady. And, oh yeah, you don't feel necessarily very, proud of yourself. But when you're going into beautiful homes and you've been entrusted by, again, high profile clientele, you do feel much more like a professional. And that's a very specific sort of service. But to me, that is the most successful and sort of the quickest way to be successful in this industry. If you're trying to compete against everybody else and you're trying to underbid everyone else and get as many customers as you can, like you're always going to be competing against the next person on a Facebook community page who says, well, I clean houses for $30 an hour, so hire me. And so if you can specialize, you really need to specialize in something. You need to have the best equipment, the best products, the best branding. And again, it's just incredible that as well you can compete against major franchises. So you can have a professional logo, you can have beautiful uniforms, you can brand all your bottles, like everything should be branded with your company. So, you're not bringing Mr. Clean into the house, even if that's what you're using. You're pouring that into a bottle.
We're not pouring that into anything. How dare you?
It's got your label on it. Everything's branded to your company because there's only one brand you need to be promoting as a business owner, and that's your own.
Hold on a second. There's a couple of things that you said that I think are super important. It's important to point out. Number one, the idea that the more your employee is able to take pride in the place that they work, that is even though you're going in to clean, the cleaner it already is, the better it already is, the better people feel about themselves. That's true in every industry, which only highlights the need for professional cleaners. So it doesn't matter if you're running a factory, a school, a hospital, a nursing home, an airport, you need professional cleaners there. Your staff and your customers will be happier, better employees. You're saying, you go to a grocery or a supermarket and you love the cleaning aisle. For me, it's floors. And so my wife and I were just at a grocery store in Rochester, New York. We're at a Wegmans grocery store, and we're big fans of Wegmans grocery stores. Okay. And as we're leaving, I said, I just love this store. And she goes, oh, it's so great. I go, no, it's great because of the floors. Look at the floors. And she's like, you should take a picture because the floors I said, if the floors look amazing, everybody loves shopping there. It's super easy to shop in a clean environment, right? Absolutely. It's super easy to spend money, to spend time, to enjoy being somewhere where it's clean. Absolutely. I think that's really important. The second thing, it's so interesting to me. I'm a commercial cleaning consultant and strategist. I'm very much like you. I help people refine their job. I help cleaning companies get into healthcare. That's really my specialty.
Yes. Okay.
But I've worked in nearly every cleaning industry. I cleaned hotels. I've cleaned houses. I cleaned condos. I've cleaned so many things.
Yeah.
Because I've been in the cleaning industry my entire life. My first job was cleaning a high school, which is how I got the unflattering nickname as the housekeeper. Anyway, I wore it as a badge of honor. Everyone's like, "Oh, you're the housekeeper." Well, it doesn't matter to me. It's funny. I had a friend who lived on a farm. And when we started high school, when you first in high school in the States anyway, you get picked on for every little thing, right? You could be too tall, too short, too fat, too skinny, whatever they could give you, right?
Yeah, Canadians too.
And my friend grew up on a farm, and so they started calling him the farmer. And he hated it. He wanted to fight everybody. I thought it was the coolest nickname. I was like, I would give anything to be the farmer. Anyway, to each his own, right?
Yes.
Like, I don't know. You try being the housekeeper over here. At the time, I would have preferred the farmer. Anyway, when I cleaned houses, I worked for this, it was just a man, this couple that had this house cleaning company, and they would send us out 2 at a time, and we'd like get our route and everything. Yeah. And we were always bringing chemicals and equipment, putting them in the trunk of the car, driving to the places and whatever. But there was a couple of houses that were and by the way, I'm going to say this, they were the best houses that we cleaned. They were the of the houses that we did, these were the best houses. They didn't let us bring in equipment. They didn't let us bring in chemicals because they had special equipment and chemicals they wanted us to use for them. And I remember when I first go, hey, you're going to go clean so-and-so's house and you don't bring anything in. They have all their own stuff. And I was like, at first I was like, sweet, who cares, just because less I have to bring back and forth into their house. But the more I did their houses, the more I realized or thought about the genius if you made that your market. Imagine if you weren't in the chemical business. Imagine if you weren't in the vacuum business or the broom business or the high duster business, and you just required that of your customer to have. Yes. I don't know why, but I think that is, and I don't clean houses anymore. That was a long time ago, and I've never owned a house cleaning company. I only worked for a house cleaning company. Yeah. But even I go into a hospital, I go into a nursing home, we don't go in with a van full of equipment.
No. And I mean, that's one of the things, like I've done a lot of commercial cleaning as well. So we had, I would say, it was a smaller dollar amount, but out of my 10 staff, 2 were part-time commercial cleaners. But I've done lots of commercial cleaning as well. And, there's a huge difference between residential and commercial. It's like they're completely different companies, right? And the beauty of janitorial work is that you can hire people who don't have a car. You can hire people who don't speak, English.
They don't have to bring equipment with them. They don't
lug anything. They just show up. So, I had staff that, would just take the bus somewhere and they just show up. All they need is a key. They open the janitor's closet. All the stuff is there, and they also didn't have to maintain any of the equipment. So, that was sort of my job. Like me and my business partner, we would make sure that, everything was stocked up and the vacuums were, like always working and functional and stuff. So there was no maintenance. So again, like that is a much, much easier way to do things. So, you're exactly right. And when I started my company, Dysons were fairly obscure. I would say not everybody was buying, $400 vacuums at the time. And then I saw the evolution as the years went by that now all of my clients have Dyson vacuums. Everybody has a vacuum. So why are we supplying Dyson vacuums? No reason to anymore. Right?
I appreciate what you were saying, that everything should be your brand. Like you should be pushing your brand and only your brand. I appreciate that. At the same time, if you want to do me a favor, if I'm going to go clean your house, this is for all the people who hire housekeepers. Trust me on this. If you want to do me a favor, if you want to make it so that I feel good about myself, I take pride in my work, I go the extra mile, leave. Don't be there while I'm there.
Don't be there.
Take a walk.
Absolutely.
Go shopping. Take your kids to the park.
Yes.
You haven't, your twin 13-year-old girls on the couch watching TV while I'm trying to vacuum doesn't do me any good. All right.
No,
It gives me
it
an
really
attitude.
doesn't.
I don't want leave.
Yeah. Leave.
Leave.
Well, it's so much better too
Peace and
for
love.
the customer
Get out of your house.
to leave, go take those 2 hours, that you can go do something better. And then you come back and your house has been completely transformed like magic, right? That is way better than being there and watching the painful process as it unfolds.
1,000,000%. I have a cleaner in I have a home office. I work from home. I teach from home. I'm here 24/7. I never want to leave. But when she comes, I'm out of the house. It's the day. I know when she's coming. My wife's like, she'll be here on Thursday. I'm like, I'm going to be working from Starbucks on Thursday.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I know if I were her, it would drive me crazy to have me in the house.
Yes. I mean, yeah. I don't know that I have a lot of clients that like to stick around. I think for the most part, people do want to leave. I think there's been a definite challenge with the pandemic, from, of course, what I've heard from my own clients who own, house cleaning companies all over the world, that everyone is home now. So I think that's definitely a challenge. But yes, ideally, everyone would be gone and they could do their work uninterrupted. Definitely. However, there's also a huge, I know as well with my staff, I have to be told when the client is home and the client likes to talk because I have to add extra time. If I know that house takes 2 hours, but they're always talking, like there's small talk before and there's small talk after, I might have to add an extra half hour onto that house. And, I'm willing to do that. That's okay. That's customer service. And I'm more than happy to pay my staff to build those relationships, with their customers. Absolutely. That's so important. So please stick around. Please talk to them if they're there. But if they're not, then yes, it's much more efficient.
What's funny is how different my wife and I are. Number one, I would never pre-clean before the cleaner comes. I'm not that person.
Yeah.
I'm not a dirty person anyway, but I wouldn't go out of my way to pick up because she's on her way in. My wife pre-cleans constantly.
Yeah.
And if my wife is home, my wife is a school teacher too, so she has summers off. So if my wife is home, she helps her clean.
Of course.
She jumps right in and all of a sudden they're working together. So, whereas I would stay in my office.
So this, and we can be as progressive as we want. Males versus females.
Sure.
Females will help. We feel guilty. We feel bad. I think
I do not feel guilty. I do not feel bad.
I know a lot will say, yes, I feel kind of bad too, but nowhere near the amount of guilt that we have.
I don't go to a restaurant, order a meal, and then jump in the kitchen. Let me get on that line. I know you've been working hard all day. I'll cut one half of the steak, you cut the other.
This illustrates a really good point that you bring up. So this is an issue that I have to handle when it comes to women business owners. Women business owners, and again, this isn't true for everyone, but I have to catch it on myself a lot too. Women are very fueled by relationships and by guilt a lot of the time as well. And so what happens is we tend to do way too much for way too little. And men do not have this issue. They just don't. I mean, and I see it as well with my parenting now. My baby will make fussy little noises and it's like my skin is crawling. I cannot stand it. And so I had to look up the science behind it. And of course, they have proven over and over with, MRI imaging of the brain that women's brains go off, like they say it's like a fire alarm. Men don't have this issue. And my husband will say, he's like, I don't know why that bothers you. So what? She's fussy. She'll fall asleep or whatever. Who cares? She's fine. It's biological. There is something there. And, women, I would say, because I'm exactly like your wife. I wipe everything down. I clean everything up. It's just, it's a sickness. I can't help it. And then if she's here and we are chatting or whatever, I will help her. I'll help her. I'll vacuum. I'll do this, and it's not right because it probably makes her really uncomfortable too. But it's just like, I don't know. It's a real fight. And like what I teach in my very first lesson of the program that actually I'm teaching right now, the very first thing that they have to learn is they have to make decisions based without emotion. It has to be a business decision. And so everything is fine if it's good for your business, then it's okay. Even if it doesn't make you tons of money at first, like I said, if I'm paying staff to sit around and chat with their clients, that's not that might seem like, oh, well, I'm paying a few $100, out of my bank account every month to pay these girls to talk to,
I would never pay anybody to talk. I'd be like, get to work. Let's go. Sweep and talk. You can listen and run a vacuum.
I will promise you, this is why my customers will continually say, and I hear it over and over again, but I obviously I'm building a very different business, but the business, that I have, and it's obviously not the same, as commercial or anything, but when you have sort of the higher end business that you're also charging a lot for, those clients do expect to have a close relationship with their personal cleaning consultant. Like that is a relationship, and they will stick around for years and years and years. And, if I can forge that relationship, that's where the business loyalty comes from. I know how much it costs me to get a new client. So, few bucks here and there for them to keep forging that relationship is a good, wise business decision. Financially.
No question. Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. So you just said are you offering a 10-week boot camp? What are you offering right now? What is
Yes. So right now is a 10-week, it's a business accelerator course, and it is my favorite course because the reason
Who is it for?
It's for, it can be for anyone in any type of cleaning company.
But it's for people who currently own a cleaning company.
They don't even have to own it. I have people who are just wanting to start up a cleaning company.
Oh, okay.
So
okay. So for both.
I had one lady reach out to me who took it last fall, and she actually reached out to me a couple of days ago and said, I took your course last year, but I never ended up doing it. And the beauty behind this course, because it's really important to me to to help people succeed through like the evolution of their career and their business, is when I offer these courses, I always let my alumni come back and re-participate at no cost.
Oh, wow.
She wasn't able to, to really put it into practice last year. And, the years go by like that, right? So she said to me, like, I'm so excited to take it again with you because I never got a chance to actually do it. I've been working at my day job, but now I'm really serious. I want to get into launching a cleaning business. So I can't wait to take it again. And so I always invite all the alumni, all the past participants to come back and retake it again for, like I said, no charge, because I know exactly what it's like. Like I said, empathy. I know what this is like more than anyone. And, sometimes you sign up
a discounted charge. Why not get a couple of bucks?
Because they've already invested. And I find with my
you're investing again and again and again.
I am, but I mean, I can scale.
This is Ralph Peterson coaching. We're live. Here we go.
What happens again financially? So taking emotion out of it, financially, if I can get somebody, first of all, it's a guarantee for anyone. So if anyone's on the fence, like, oh, do I want to sign up for her live thing? What if I don't do the lessons? What if I fall behind? What if I'm too busy running my business and I can't make the calls or whatever? Don't worry about it, because you've locked in your price. You've paid for it. And now even if you fall behind, it's okay. You've got lifetime access to all the learning materials, and you can revisit it when you need to. And then when I do it again next year, if you want to, show up for the calls, you can. So I basically block out 10 weeks a year where I am fully committed to everybody and helping them in any way that they need during business hours for 10 weeks. So that's what I do. And it works out beautifully. And again, to answer that financial question, the beauty behind people is, they come and they take my course, and, it sort of gives them this business accelerator course. We cover everything. So we cover marketing, we cover hiring, but of course we don't go massively into depth because I do that in other courses, right? So if you really want to know how to hire and train, I have separate courses on that, and they go into that.
How do people find out about, how do people sign up for this course?
This course, so it started yesterday, but if somebody wanted to take it, I'm pretty flexible with how many people I let into the course. It also depends because, I might have half the participants are in Australia, which does happen, and then half will be from the US or something. So when that's the case, I might do my live calls like this sort of idea at 2 different times so that the Australians can make it. So it just all depends on who signs up. But if you go to glistenacademy.com, you can join. I've left it up, even though technically we started yesterday, but if there was any straggler who wanted to jump in, they're more than welcome. I'm behind because of my baby too. I'm a lot more behind than I used to be. So I only probably marketed this intake because I only do it once a year, and I only marketed for about a week to let people know. Yeah. So I definitely could fit a couple more people in if they wanted to, because I don't know if I got really the message out there, but I do sell like the lesson bundle. They can buy it at any time throughout the year and like just do it at their own pace as well. So
is that also at the glistenacademy.com?
It is. Yes. So all my
perfect
training is there. Yeah.
Perfect. We're having a
soon.
we're having a little bit of connection problem here. I don't know what's going on, but that's okay. That's okay. We're out of time anyway. It's been super fun having you on the show and learning all about what you do and how you even got to this industry. I think it's really fun and interesting.
Yes.
And we didn't talk about it at all, but I did not know synchronized swimming was called Synco. Is that what you called it? Synco?
Synchro, yeah.
Synchro.
And now they changed the name. Now it's artistic swimming. So.
Oh, artistic.
Yeah.
All right.
So there's no more synchro.
No more synchro. Who knows?
Shows my age.
Who knows? Okay, so that's it for us. Thank you so much for tuning in. And please, you're welcome. It was a real pleasure. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Excellent. Me too.
And I'll have all your links to the Glisten Academy and everything in the show notes. So if anybody wants to reach out to you, they'll be able to learn more about how you can help them. And that's it for the Housekeepers Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please make sure that you're subscribing and reviewing and, of course, telling all your friends about it. That's it for us. The cleanest hour in podcast has come to an end, sadly. Sadly.
I have to go clean.
Somebody has to go clean. That's it. Katie Pearse and I, Ralph Peterson, Housekeepers Podcast. We'll see you guys later.
Thank you.